Good evening. My name is Joe Sam Robinson. It's my pleasure to have with us Mr. Harry Gross, a man of many virtues and possibly an occasional defect, but we won't go there exactly.
More than occasionally, don't worry.
Well, we've had an interesting discussion earlier about the conflict in the Middle East, the problems of the war against Iran. And there was some speculation on both of our parts as to how this might end. And the facts of what's going on. Now, do we have a problem that we, as Americans, we have these issues are taking place, and it's so difficult for us to really understand what the story is. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that's said that we hear is that the U.S. and Israel have such extraordinary weapons that we haven't really pushed our go-to-hell weapon, kind of. Is that tactical nuclear weapons? Is that being entertained anywhere? In other words, if the administration were put into a real bind here, would they consider that, or some tremendous change in geopolitical strategy? The Russians have a lot of petroleum. Would they do some kind of deal like that? Whoever has petroleum, they'll get some help. Tactical nuclear weapons. You think that's been discussed, or what do you think
I'm
about
sure it's been discussed. I think if anyone's likely to use tactical nukes, it's Israel. I think.
Do you think they have?
I think they definitely have them. They are the most likely party because they do not. The United States, to our credit, wants a peaceful post-war Iran. I think the Israeli vision of a post-war Iran is one of chaos, because a chaotic Iran that is too busy turning on itself or too destroyed to do anything else makes Israel feel safer. And so we have two competing visions of endgame. I think so that means the United States is going to be much more reticent to use nuclear weapons in general across the board. In terms of other policy levers, the United States is definitely pulling some. We removed sanctions on Russian oil today to try and help.
The ones that the amount at sea, so it doesn't really fund them.
Yeah, something like that. But we're pulling a few levers on that to get more Russian oil into the market. There is, I think, an argument for increasing domestic oil production within the United States. That's going to be unpopular with some folks on the left in particular, but that's easily doable comparatively to some other policy things. I think strategically, though, the big question is going to be the deployment of ground troops. I saw this afternoon that the president had authorized the deployment of, I think, 3,500 Marines to the Middle East. It didn't say specifically where, but I think they are preparing probably for an expeditionary force into Iran. That would be my guess, is to see how this goes first. If we get pulled into a ground war, then we are in a uncharted territory. As long as we stay in a air and missile war comparatively, it's going to be incredibly destructive and incredibly expensive, but it will not be as costly for the United States.
Well,
in that sense.
You know, there are cards in the deck right now. So the issue that we're in a way, is the midterms are coming up. Seemingly, at least the political class seems to believe that the gas pump prices are it. So if you're an American and your gas goes up somewhat, well, you'll do anything to not pay the $20 extra for a tank full of gas, whatever. And so right now, the issue seems to be going in that direction.
Yep.
The elections are coming up, and so there is an increasing sense of urgency about getting the war ended, or at least opening the Strait of Hormuz there. That seems to be a really, really major way to do something. Get the price of gas down. I think that's the major issue. Maybe the strait could stay closed just as long as the price of gas drops somehow. And so whatever can be done to do that. And the problem is that if the idea would be that we're really interested in winning the war, so to speak, and how are we going to win it? we can continue, and it appears that we hear policymakers, the Secretary of War, say we are just going to we haven't even done anything yet. We're going to really blow up 29 million people. I don't know. I'm thinking about something extreme that could happen in a fit of desperation, poison gas. And the Israelis, the story of how it's another issue as to how they got nuclear weapons. There was a lot of knavery that occurred. Yep. It's a complicated story. The French helped out, and the Americans were definitely against it. So the American administration was doing everything they could not to inject that into the equation, but that's certainly in the equation, which is something to remember. Desperate situations could cause terrible escalations of what's going on. I would fear that, and the fact it's pretty extraordinary about just killing everybody. I mean, that's something. Yeah. I mean, you're suddenly we're having trouble with Mexico, and they decide to they just kill everybody in a cabinet meeting. Everybody's dead, and then they do it again. They kill whatever. Everybody is routinely being killed that opposes Mexico. Well, that's going to cause all kinds of problems, all kinds of issues. We have all these tensions. There are nuclear weapons floating around in different places, and so probably the way war escalation often goes is step at a time. Although it could be, there would be just some extraordinary escalation that no one could have sensed would happen. In a way, this is one of the things that occurred in Iran. This degree of escalation was pretty extraordinary, and that maybe that's part of the Trump regime's assets. People don't know what they'll do, and to preserve that sense of power, maybe they'll do other things that are out there. Now, the Marine, who knows what the facts are? Yeah. The problem is we just don't know any of the facts, nor do we have a role in deciding what national policy should be. Yeah. The country should have lots of checks and balances. And I would say the Republicans, the Democrats, if one of their troopers get in power and there's no restraint for their activities, then the shoe would be on the other foot. If that were to happen, it's important for the country to have checks and balances for just people being the way they are. It would be certainly possible to go into extreme venues. So right now, troops on the ground. Now I've heard, let's see, there's the island in the strait there. It's very, very tight.
Karg Island, yeah.
They might try and take that. That would be a bloodbath. The other thing I've heard is there's 650 kilograms of nuclear fissionable material somewhere. And that the U.S. might try and go in and take that with a special paratroopers coming in. And we can remember the Jimmy Carter story, trying to do something like that, and the issue didn't work. And the question is, are we that much better? Every piece goes 1, 2, 3. It would be unlikely, in my opinion. It would be unlikely just from a statistical point of view, that happens. But it's going to be important in a way to adopt another policy and try and find another way out of this. Yeah. Maybe the French can help. Maybe the Italians can help. Maybe the Russians can help. Maybe the Chinese can help. Because the world order is really at risk here. Do you have any thoughts about what happens if the war goes for a year and the price of gasoline and petroleum products escalates?
I mean, it's going to be absolutely devastating to the global economy because it's not just oil that we're going to be dealing with.
Fertilizer.
We've got fertilizer that comes through. We've got a lot of supply chain pieces for manufacturing capacities that go through the Strait of Hormuz. It is going to cause prices to go up across the board everywhere. And we saw what a revolt against just a comparatively minor level of inflation did after COVID. Right. Not just in the United States, but globally. Every single political party that was in power, that was incumbent during COVID, was voted out of office in 2024. Every single one in the developed country, in the developed world. Yes. I mean, there was a resounding revolt against those who had been perceived to have failed to deal with these crises. So this will make 1973 look like nothing in a year. I mean, really.
I think you touched on this point. What kind of aberrant policies might take place economically? I mean, I don't know. Maybe the dollar will use as it already happened, lose its role as reserve currency. Yep. The attention will be extraordinary. We have these 8 billion people that are carefully connected with each other. Mm-hmm. And maybe I've said this before, I won't get into much. The way the brain is structured, you can expect this. It just keeps going and going and going. In-group, out-group, the nation-state against each other. What nation-states fight, the Bible says war and rumors of war are always going to be with us. And that's, and I would say on a macro level and on a micro level, it's just these conflicts take place. And the job of the leadership class is not to let it happen. Mm-hmm. That's not to let these events take place. And it's so seductive to do it. I mean, particularly if you're a president or you're in power, there's nothing that causes more accumulation of power and diminishes any resistance to you than war. So you can say, aren't you a patriot? Are you opposing me? I am the country, so to speak. America is me. And I've almost like the divine right of kings. Democracy can often anoint someone by saying, this is the will I'm expressing the will of the people. And the people being manipulated by mass media, so you can really get into great evil situations. Yeah. Now, this President Trump is in the middle of this situation, and the idea is, well, if we somehow minimize President Trump, everything will just be fine. Well, on the left, and doubtless this is just normal human behavior in a way, if there are not these checks and balances there. So Congress needs to do what they can to accomplish this. Yep. And the power dynamics are so diffuse. How do you, you're a congressman, and what can I accomplish? Almost nothing. Well, let's see, I'm a senator. Can I do much? Not too much. Only a few people really are that have the ability to move the needle. There are not too many of them. And it's hard to get there, and that's the situation we have. And these facts are such a distance from American voters, such a distance, that they just don't know what's happening, nor do we. Maybe there's some plan that is about to hatch out, a brilliant plan that will take care of the situation. I'm just saying that. Is it possible? Yes, it is. It's certainly possible.
I would love for that, but I think what we've seen so far with this war is a case of amateurism to the extreme, that there have been so many mistakes made that are easy mistakes. In the sense of these are rookie mistakes that we've made. Not having enough missile interceptors, not having enough naval assets in the fleet, not having enough fuel around, not communicating with our allies. We lost 3 F-15s to friendly fire in a way that could only have happened if we were not communicating with our Kuwaiti allies about what was going on.
There's the fog of war. So that's another thing. If you smoke a cigarette and say, I'm going to embark on this, and it's going to be 1, 2, 3. Well, it's rarely 1, 2, 3. And so, for instance, hitting the school and killing the 100, and I don't doubt that, I could be, seemingly that's what happened. Americans, they were trying to hit the naval base next door, and the maps were not there, and they thought the school was part of it. And so I think it's an intelligence failure on our part until proven otherwise, and we need to accept responsibility for it. The other thing about this is that if we're probably going to, if we get into this, how do we do something? Well, we're going to have to probably pay reparations. millions and billions of dollars of reparations. That would be one thing. All kinds of, and that would mean, well, you're defeated. We're going to defeat you. We're going to make you pay for everything, and you name it, and we'll burn your embassies, do this and that. The other point, I think, is we have to expect this, in my opinion, asymmetric warfare. Mm-hmm. So you just have to say something, right? The people will be willing to give their life to injure America and to they're like the Nazis or whatever you want to say. They perceive America, these terrible people, and the 9/11 story might be go in some kind of even worse way. There are lots and lots of things that could happen. You could poison the water. You could do this. You could hospitals. There have been assaults on the internet that in hospitals you could do something really to hurt people.
Yeah,
and that could be a card in the deck, and I would expect something like that. I mean, I would.
If I was Israel, I would be particularly wary of that, because one of the side effects of the situation they've created in Gaza is a large population of refugees in their territory. And refugee populations are easy to infiltrate. And I would not be surprised if Iranian agents infiltrated Palestinian refugee camps and used them to strike against Israeli military targets. Because
the other point
that's a strategic vulnerability.
You could say, you could also say, all right, the border was opened. The Democratic administration totally opened the border, and for their own reasons, which could be explored in another conversation. The border is open. Anybody can come in. All kinds of people are in, just floating around right now, and sleeper cells. I think we have to imagine something like that is there. That's not paranoia. I just think that you have to be on the lookout for things like that. The other thing that would happen is if there were a sort of a 9/11 event, then it would cause all kinds of disturbances in the national psyche. Our sense of liberty and freedom would be impinged upon. There'd be, pat downs when you go into church or something. I mean, all kinds of people would be so anxious about whatever is going on. The sense of freedom would be markedly curtailed. And some of what could happen is having discussions like this one we're having tonight might be impossible to have. That just because we'd be on some kind of national crackdown. And that's what happens when war occurs. The Bill of Rights goes up in flames in many ways. That we've got this right, you've got that. No, you don't in wartime. And the courts give the government leeway to suppress the Bill of Rights as of national necessity. And we haven't really had a nip, have we? Nothing has happened. There have been some regrettable casualties, military casualties, but nothing to compare to a real wartime situation. So those are bad things. Now, when I say there could be something there that could be contemplated, Iran, ancient Persia, has lots of minority populations there that are right on the border. And so, for instance, they're not so happy to be in Iran, and particularly up in the north, the Azerbaijanis that are across the border. When the struggle took place with riots on the streets or whatever what you want to say, a lot of this were these minority populations that don't go along with this theocracy that runs the place. I mean, they're Islamic people, but the theocracy, whatever, and they're not Shiites. They're Sunni. There's a large Sunni population there. Mm-hmm. You correctly said in an earlier comment that the hatred between the Shiites and the Sunnis far exceeds that between the Methodists and the Baptists, I guess you should say. It's not even the same. Yeah. But they really, really, really have it's like something out of the 16th century in Europe, the Protestant Catholic struggle. They really, really have tensions. So could the CIA be doing something but
No,
beneath the surface.
we burned all those bridges already. The Kurds would be the best choice to do it, but we've hung them out to dry 3 times already in the last 6 years. They have no wish whatsoever to die for us.
What about paying money? I don't know. I'm just
There's no
speculating.
amount of money because we paid them money to fight the Assad regime. Then we let the Turks come in and kill hundreds of thousands. We paid them money to fight Saddam. Saddam gassed thousands. The lesson
I know.
they've learned is you can't trust
I know
us.
there may be a certain acceptance of knavery in such places. I mean, we expect knavery, whatever, but this is the circumstance. If the Kurds have always wanted their country, we'll give you a little slice of Iran,
But they've been promised that for years. The British promised them a slice of Iran after World War I.
They're used to broken.
In this case, the Kurds are Charlie Brown, and we are Lucy with the football.
I know that. But, however, having said that, my point I'm making is I don't think they can necessarily discount some kind of unknowable set of facts that are influencing the situation in Washington. And it's often said that if, President Trump says, I want to make Canada the 51st state, or whatever he says, there's some kind of like major reason behind this. This is like, you don't understand that's doing something that you can't understand. I guess that argument is out there. And is this the Wizard of Oz kind of situation where you're behind the curtain and the people? And I'm just presenting this fact because the assumption is, at least the story we're getting a little bit, is vengeance. Hitler, the vengeance weapons are on the horizon. Keep fighting. We've got a secret way to take care of this. And is there some kind of secret way? I mean, I don't know. It may be that let's say the French can come in and do something, and they'll rebuild the country, and we'll secretly give the French money or something. I mean, whatever, some kind of really unknowable strategy that could exist. Now, it doesn't seem right now, looking at this, there's any kind of easy strategy that the government would employ. I mean, it doesn't seem that way. And you're somewhat pessimistic. World order, right now. Do you think the world order will, as we know it, will exist in a year?
Yes, in a year, yes. We've been witnessing steady dismantling of that order over the last decade in particular. But systems like that, we've spread them out enough that it's hard for them to collapse overnight, truly. But I think Russia's too busy with Ukraine to fully do too much. China's just sitting on the sidelines. If China were being more aggressive and making more moves, I'd say maybe not.
Well, this would be a chance. The U.S. is so preoccupied.
Yeah.
I mean, is something else going to happen? I guess that's kind of my
Something
point.
else could happen. I mean, we have, especially if we continue to move material and resources and maybe even eventually men away from certain theaters. I mean, if we pull missile defense systems away from Europe and the Pacific, that could encourage aggression.
North Korea attack. In other words, are people that have...
I mean, right now, there is not a single missile defense battery in the Korean Peninsula. So North Korea could do something at any moment.
Is that the case? I mean, is that... can you affirmatively say that? I mean, there might be some...
To the best of my knowledge, we have pulled out every THAAD battery we have, to the best of my knowledge.
It's almost like secret information. I've heard it said the Koreans... we don't like what's going on. A lot of our defense apparatus is being moved out.
Yeah.
The question is, every single one, is there some kind
Well, these air defense batteries were put in, I think, 8 years ago, and it cost Korea a significant amount of relationships, particularly with China, to have them installed, and we promised that they would be there to help secure South Korea against any potential air assaults. So the lesson is not so much even in capacity as can you trust the United States to ever honor its bargains? Because we promised them they'd be there, and then at a drop of a hat, we're pulling them
Does
out.
the great Jove, so to speak, laugh at the falsehoods of nations? The nation, that's a little.
No, well,
my comments. Apologies for Shakespeare on that.
Yeah.
That's another line. I changed one of his lines, but the deal is that people. Oh well, we're going to promise whatever that's worth. I mean, nobody really reposes such tremendous confidence, though they depend on those reassurances.
Yeah, there's a certain allowance for hypocrisy that has to be made. All international politics is inherently hypocritical to some degree. The trick is just hiding it well enough.
Yes.
You keep your promises more often than you don't. That's how you stay a trusted partner. And you don't break key promises where you can avoid them. You're hypocritical in areas that it doesn't hurt anybody as much as you possibly can. Where you do, the problem that this administration has shown consistently is just a willingness to be hypocritical at any moment, that no promise is sacred, no trust is worth keeping, no alliance is secure. And this isn't the first time. I mean, Britain did this the entirety of the 19th century and the 18th century, but it got them the nickname Perfidious Albion.
Yes.
And I fear that's what we're running the risk of eventually, is that because our naked pursuit of self-interest at the expense of our allies and promises is eventually just going to ruin our reputation.
Well, I mean, I think it's certainly redeemable with the little money that goes back and forth there. I mean, you could say Spain, well, we took the Philippines, we did this, Cuba, all kinds of times that our policy has been injurious to people. And I think there's a certain, sense of that's the way it is.
Well, trust is a different currency. And trust is very difficult to build. And trust is not something you can just buy. And that's something that President Trump does not understand. Trust cannot be bought. Trust has to be earned. And right now we are losing a lot of trust and not doing much to earn that trust back.
Well, I mean, trust is a complicated word. I won't pursue that particularly, but the idea that we have these relationships and there's because of the I guess alteration in U.S. policy, those relationships are in jeopardy. And the word soft power has been used. Maybe the soft power emulates from our hard power. Maybe that's what keeps that going. So we can look at the Romans, whoever you want to look at. I mean, some great imperialist power. They may say, the Romans want to be nice to you and do something if you'll only do this. Okay. But if the Rome the wind blows another way, and that just goes away, and the dependent countries and nations and groups are just hoping their benefactor doesn't change his policy, and their power to respond to that is often difficult. All right, Harry, we've jumped around a little bit, a lot now. How do you propose that we end this conflict? How are we going to do it?
Ooh,
so you come up with this.
man.
Here's the
Okay.
football. What are you going to do? Give money? Going to do this? You've got limitations.
Yeah.
The country is going to limit what you can do. You could say, well, let's give you an extra $1 billion. We'll, I don't know, whatever we'll do. We'll put a great. We'll invest in whatever we want. You name what we'll do. We'll convert to Islam. I mean, what can we do? You tell us.
Yeah.
We can't do those things. There's probably a way to do something, but there are limits to what we can do.
Yeah.
What can we do?
Well, I think step one is go to Congress, because that gives you an off-ramp, particularly with Israel, because once you begin to submit this beast to domestic authority, you take it out of the hands of a few people, then, one, you actually are more likely to get better policy options. If you get support for war, it's going to be much more broad in terms of popular support. You'll have much more options on the table going forward. If it's not popular, if you do not get that support, then you have a timeline of when to wind down. And you can start saying, all right, we'll cease airstrikes. We will withdraw some naval assets. We will maintain our presence in the Arabian Peninsula and in Kuwait and in the Gulf states. We will maintain our presence, our relationship with Israel, but we will back down and we will give concessions on certain programs, maybe concessions on Iranian oil. We can release a few $1 billion probably of assets that have been frozen. That's small potatoes for us, but would be a lifeline for the regime. The danger here, though, is the hardline new president. And because we haven't seen much of him yet, because supposedly he was injured, as you pointed out in an earlier conversation, we don't know what his calculus is. But we can guess that it's not going to be one that's going to be amenable to making peace now.
He may require, I'll sort of conclude a little bit, he may require blood.
Yeah.
It may be, I can do this after I kill, I'm going to kill 50,000 soldiers, I'll blow up 12 big ships, and I'll spread plague through New Jersey, whatever. So I want major Old Testament type vengeance. And so that will be a problem. The other, and I'll conclude by saying, the issue about Congress is that we have this divided country. And so the political parties reflect the sense of division, kind of the Sunni Shiite divisions away. And that is going to be, it would be a very difficult stretch to do that. And it may well be the only solution is some kind of cataclysmic event. Or that's point or number two, is that President Trump says, we won, we're out of here. And then the state stays closed, and but whatever. But he claims we won, we stopped blowing people up. And we hope that as time goes by, the Iranians will desist.
You could. That is an option.
Okay, well, that's a good discussion, Harry. So thank you for being here.
Of course.
Right.